Well, welcome everybody. We'll get started. It is 8 o'clock, and yeah. So thanks for tuning into today's webinar. This is not a technical webinar, so this is new for us. Most of our webinars are how to solve different problems with FME, but we've recently introduced our some new subscription offerings of FME, and we're getting lots of questions. So we thought, hey, why don't we do a webinar that talks about all the different ways you can use subscriptions to get FME. So I guess, oh, first, that's me, that's not anybody else. Okay, so there we go, the presenters. So, yeah, so Dave, you gonna say hi there, Dave?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Patterson. I'm the sales team lead at Safe Software. Recently returned after a few years, but it's great to be back.
Yeah, and there's Craig. He often refers to himself as a thorn between two roses. Did I get that right, Craig?
You absolutely did, and you stole my thunder. I'll have to pay you back later. I'm Craig Vernon. I'm VP of Customer Experience and Sales. And yeah, I had the privilege of working with Dave 15 or 16 years ago. And then he left, and then Don and I have been upset for many, many years, but we were able to pull him back, which is exciting.
That's right. That's right. So it's great to have Dave back. And of course, I'm Don. I'm one of the co-founders, along with my good buddy Dale. And I'm just excited about everything FME, and I'm excited about this whole subscription offering and how we can bring FME to you in new ways. So yeah, so we'll get started. So yeah, so we're quickly going to go through. I mean, I only got 6 slides, but we're quickly going to go through the FME platform for those who are tuned in who are not aware of what it is. Then we'll talk about the goals of our whole licensing in general, and then we'll look at perpetual licenses and subscriptions. The thing to remember is we're not removing anything. This is purely just a new offering for FME. So yes, and then we'll talk about the available subscription models for different industries, and then we're going to go into some Q&A. Throughout this whole webinar, please do ask questions and comments in your chat panel, and we will answer them through the webinar. If we get inundated with more questions than we can answer during the webinar, for sure we will answer every single question and get back to you. Yeah, and this is not a technical webinar, so there's no demos at all in this webinar. This is purely looking at all our licensing options. If you're looking for a really great technical webinar that's upcoming, there's one on XML, and as everybody knows, I just love XML. And so if you're looking for some interesting technical stuff there, then yeah, there's lots of other webinars coming that you can go safe.com/webinars. So the FME integration platform is what we're discussing today, and this is an enterprise data integration, application integration, enables you to do what you want with data however you want, or connect applications in many ways. And so subscriptions generally cover the FME Desktop, and they cover FME Server, and those two things. No matter how they're deployed, that's what we're talking about here. So FME Cloud is not part of the enterprise subscriptions we're talking about today. And if you're aware of other tools out there that do data integration, the thing about FME is it is the best support for spatial data. It doesn't matter what kind of spatial data or what kind of data, really, we do it all. Whereas other tools out there, they can do lots of different data types, but they cannot do spatial when compared with FME. And as spatial data is increasing in importance, this is a key reason for folks to get FME. So yeah, so what is our goal today? Our goal is to communicate the high value procurement options that you have to get FME. So for years we've had perpetual licenses where you would pay a higher price up front, and then you would have an annual maintenance to get all the updates. And so today we're going to talk about the subscription offering, which is a lower, there's no higher upfront cost. You just pay annually for the updates, and it's not a procurement or a perpetual model, it's a subscription model. And so yeah, so we're going to talk about that. And the goal obviously is to let you know of just the amazing flexibility that you have and how we will work with you to deploy FME technology. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Craig Vernon.
Okay, thanks, Don. So I'm just going to do a few slides here on the perpetual or subscriptions. Notice it does not say perpetual versus subscriptions because it's not a all or nothing. If you want to have both, you're more than welcome to do that. This is just, as Don mentioned, another way for you to deploy FME. Traditionally, for the last 27 or 28 years or so, we've had the more traditional software perpetual license model where you purchase an upfront fee and then you pay for the maintenance starting in year 2, and those are sold on the desktop in our product by the seat and then by engine on server. And this has been really successful. We have the vast majority of our customers are on perpetual licenses, and it's great for smaller deployments of FME, and certainly if your organization is more comfortable or have more access to the capital expense or capital budget, then the perpetual licenses have been fantastic, and you're more than welcome to stay on that. We have subscriptions, and why? Because more and more of our organizations are deploying FME in the enterprise, and so they're not exactly sure how much FME, they're not sure their configuration, and so with one single annual fee with a subscription, you can essentially take as much FME and in whatever configuration you want. And so if your organization is more comfortable or it's easier to free up operating budget, then this is where our subscriptions have been really successful over the last couple of years. Some of the benefits, as Don had mentioned, it's a lower upfront cost. We spread that perpetual use cost that you would normally pay, we spread that over a longer term, over a number of years. So the upfront cost is much lower. Procurement costs, if you're using the perpetual, every time you want to add more licenses, you'll have to go to procurement and get budget, whereas in this scenario with subscription, it's just an annual fee. So it allows your budgeting to be much more predictable. And I think the biggest benefit would be the flexibility to scale as you need licenses in whatever configuration. As your projects grow, as your deployments grow, you can just grab whatever licenses you need throughout the year. And this also includes the annual maintenance. So the ability to have the latest releases of our platform, as well as access to our fantastic support team and all of the resources that come with that. And again, it's all about giving you the flexibility and choice. So it's not about you need to go with a subscription or perpetual. If you want both, for whatever reason, we're happy to accommodate that. And the flexibility with the subscriptions is fantastic in the ability to just deploy whatever you need from FME as you grow. All right, so now we're going to hand it over to Dave. We're going to go through the different types of subscription programs.
Okay, hi everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our subscription programs that we put in place. And so we have 4 of what we call industry-based solutions. So these are subscriptions that really are tied to some degree to population-based metrics. And then we also have an enterprise subscription, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a couple minutes, but it's really a program for everyone that doesn't fit into these industry-based solutions. So we have a local government subscription. Originally, we had designed this for small and mid-sized cities. It's an unlimited use of the FME platform, and it's based on population tiers. We've had a lot of interest from regional type governments, so that's like counties and regional authorities and water districts. And so we've decided to include those organizations into this program. Sometimes we know it doesn't quite fit for smaller kind of regional agencies with the population tiers. So we just ask that you connect with us, and we'll come up with a fair program that works for you.
Dave, sorry, bud. Can you go back to that slide?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to have you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by the ceiling price.
Right. So we have this concept of what we call maximum pricing, which I think is kind of unusual out in the industry. And so we provide on our website, we show what the pricing is, and that's the maximum price that a population tier or a city would ever pay. And so in a lot of cases, we know that, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but we have deployments where it's only a single department, or maybe it's a long-term kind of project. And so we do have the options to be able to ramp up into that maximum pricing over time.
Oh, so we can grow. Okay, and also, so let me get this straight. This is all you can eat. Like it doesn't really matter how many servers or desktop, like the full platform of FME, whatever you need.
Yeah, unlimited FME Desktop and FME Server, so the full platform.
Thanks, Dave.
Absolutely. So when it comes to local government and FME, we have a wealth of resources. I usually point our customers as a starting point to the blog, 8 ways that local governments can improve operations using data integration. I should mention that this is being recorded and we're going to be sharing the slides afterwards, so you'll have access to all of these links, but you can find this on our website. And really this has a number of great customer success stories in all sorts of areas where we help local governments, things like digital plan submissions and one call or call before you dig solutions, and things like application integration, which is all very strong use cases for our customers in the sector. We have now we have a utility subscription, and this covers all facets of utilities. So that's water, gas, electric, and also recently we've included telecommunication customers. This is based on the number of customers that these organizations have or subscribers. And I'll point you to the resource here in the bottom. We are having a webinar coming up on June 3rd, how utilities can improve operations using data integration. And so if you're a utility organization, we recommend that you join that. Okay. And again, wealth of resources when it comes to utilities and FME. We have a brand new blog. You'll see that in the bottom. Again, you can find this on our website, 5 data integration workflows for utilities. So welcome you to have a look at that. This is a new subscription that we put in place, and originally we had designed this for universities and colleges. It's based on the number of students that attend those institutions. And we developed this for the operational side of the educational space. So that's things like facility management. So we look at university or college campuses that in some ways they're like a small city. They have the same infrastructure that they need to maintain, and we're really strong on that local government space, so we can really help universities in that respect. And then also a growing part of our business is the student management and the application integration of their key business systems. So that's things like learning management systems and educational ERP systems.
Yeah, Dave,
yes.
Sorry, but I just wanted to make sure we touch on the grant program here, just to clarify. If you're a student or an institution using FME as part of a curriculum or a professor, we have a grant program. I think we have over 7,000 licenses that are being used throughout the world. And so those are all free. And so that's still available. This is specifically for institutions who are using FME for their facility management.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Craig. Yeah, so that's everything from teaching to unfunded research to recent grads and students all fall into that category. And proud to announce this is releasing today our brand new airport subscription, which we have based on passenger traffic. And this is really for small and medium-sized airports with less than 10 million annual passengers. And of course, we know that it's tough times right now for the travel industry and airports in particular. So if you do fall into this category, please do reach out to us, because we do have the ability to to really be creative and help you out during these difficult times until things are back to normal, hopefully soon.
Yeah, and Dave, I just wanted to touch on the airports for a second. Here's a good example of a few airport customers of ours, and a couple of partners who came to us and suggested that it would be a good idea to have a subscription program specifically for airports. So we worked with them and did a little bit of research, and here we have a new subscription program. And so we're open to discuss any new ones. We're always looking for new programs that make sense. And so please reach out to us if you have an idea of a program in your area or your industry that makes sense. Talk to us. We're happy to investigate. And if it doesn't make sense to make it a full-blown program, we're happy to come up with something specific for you.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, absolutely. We're always looking for new programs and tweaking the ones that we have. And so just to finish this off, so with airports, we recommend that you visit our landing page for airports, and you can see a lot of the great work that we're doing. Lots of interesting projects with things like indoor mapping, and then also some things like application integration with asset management systems, systems like IBM Maximo, which we've recently supported, which is very strong at airports globally. And then last but not least, I mentioned this earlier, so we have what we call an enterprise subscription, and this is really for customers that are outside of those industry programs, but it can also include cities and utilities and large airports, large organizations that don't fit into the population tiers. And so what this program does is it gives you the ability to deploy a large amount of FME software up to a certain threshold. And really the benefit here is it really lowers the upfront cost of deploying a significant amount of software. So Craig, I don't know if you wanted to touch on the 35% rule.
Well, yeah, I mean that really is the key. So if you go to our website, all the pricing is there with sort of example tiers and thresholds. But let's say that you're not ready or you don't feel like you're at a $50,000 deployment scenario, and because you're not going to be using, you don't think you'll be up to 140K. So you could come and look at the website and say, well, you know, what would 30,000 be? It's 35%, so times that by 2.8, and it'll give you an idea about what your threshold is. So we're extremely flexible. Those prices on the website in terms for thresholds and for the tiers are really examples. The goal here is to know that you're paying 35% of what the list price is. So that lower upfront cost, you're spreading it over a number of years, but don't get too hung up on what the tiers and what and specifically the thresholds are. You can kind of figure that out, but more than welcome to talk to us. We'll figure out something that works. We can come up with a growth path if you're doing a large project, or if you're just not, you know, you're not exactly sure what you're going to need as you go forward. We can work with you to grow that.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. So now we wanted to move on to some common scenarios that have been coming up from our customers, and just move this on here.
Yeah, so maybe Dave, I'll ask the questions and then I'll give you the heavy lifting job of answering. How does that work?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. Okay, so and these are common scenarios that you and your team deal with on a day-to-day basis. So we thought it'd be important to put them in here. So here's the first question. So I've already made a significant investment in FME. So what are my options? Like why start from scratch, Dave, on a subscription, for instance?
Right. So I mean, this is a very common scenario. You know, it's really a trend. Our customers will, you know, acquire a couple licenses, and as they start, you know, growing their footprint and their usage of FME throughout the organization. And so in many cases, they want to then move on to an enterprise subscription, and we can take the maintenance payment, for example, and factor that into the cost. Also, we've run into some scenarios where there's been a very large deployment of FME, and a customer wants to move to the enterprise subscription, and the tiers and the threshold just don't make sense. And so in that case, we can look at modifying either the cost or the threshold or both to come up with a program that really suits the customer's needs.
Yeah, we want to recognize the amount that you've already spent procuring the licenses. If you've got certainly if you've got a larger deployment. I mean, if you had $140,000 of FME already, maybe we move you into the lower tier, but we give you the threshold that's at the second tier for a while, and allow you to grow into that.
Exactly.
So current subscriptions offering, so they don't really apply. So maybe I'm like a school board, Dave. That's not really local government. So, you know, like, do we just go right to enterprise? What can we do for scenarios that maybe are like subcategories?
Yeah, that's a great example, Craig. So when we first put together the education subscription, we were thinking of our university and college customers. There was a lot of interest in that respect, and what we didn't envision at the start were things like K to 12 school districts.
Mhm.
And so they don't quite fit the model because a K to 12 school district might actually cover several cities. They might not actually cover a massive population, but we know that they have limited budgets, and aren't really don't have some of the same challenges that a university or college would have. So we've included them in the program, but we have the caveat that please reach out to us because we will tailor that program to meet your needs. And if we do get enough school districts coming to us, we will look at creating a separate program for that.
And I
And
see
that
some
also goes. Yeah, I was just
there.
going to say, Craig, that also goes for police forces, and we've mentioned a couple others here: emergency services, 911 organizations. There's been some interest from environmental authorities. So,
Awesome.
yeah. Anything else you wanted to say there, Craig?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay, so on a budget cycle, I'm assuming for this is fairly common in local government. Maybe I'm excited to jump into a subscription now, is what I'm telling you, Dave. But my budget is like 4 months away. How do I jump in, and how can you help me out?
Sure, and this really happens all the time. It's I mean, rarely do projects align with budget timelines, and so we see many cases where a customer has a specific project where they need to ramp up their use of FME, but their budget release might be 3 or 4 months away. And so what we've done in those cases is we get you to sign the paperwork and we get you access to the software early.
So what you're saying, so this, let me just hear you correctly here. So if I was local government, my budget cycle is in 4 months from now. You're saying I could sign up to a subscription agreement now. I could take all the FME I could that I need or I want right now. I'm essentially a part of the full program, but the PO isn't coming for 4 months. That's correct.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we and the billing then starts when you're ready and when the money is released.
Super. Yeah, so I've got several perpetual desktop licenses, and this has come up a few times more recently. Can I just use subscription because I'm super interested in server, and maybe I can't afford server, the initial outlay, or maybe I'm going to be deploying lots of servers. I don't really need more desktop licenses.
Absolutely. We've got lots of requests coming in along these lines, and we really we have flexibility. I mean, when you're buying a subscription, you're buying the platform.
Right.
So you will get unlimited use of FME Desktop as well, but there's no reason why you can't have or maintain some perpetual licensing.
Right. For a variety of reasons, you may want to keep a few licenses on the perpetual side and keep paying the maintenance on that, and then just sign up on the subscription separately. But like as you're saying, that would include the full platform. So if I needed more desktop, I could use that under subscription.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, consider it you're getting the subscription for server, but you would get desktop as well.
Nice. Okay, so I've got like multiple business units. So maybe I'm a power, a local utility, and I'm a part of the city budget. And so it doesn't really fit in with local government, but I want to partner up with the government somehow. How can that work?
Sure. I mean, we've come across this a little bit where there's a local government, and then there's often like a local government owned or municipal owned power or electric organization or a water district or something like that. And we're completely flexible, so it's up to the customer if they want to acquire 2 subscriptions, one under the local government, one under utility, that's okay. But we've also combined them as well, and that way it's easier to maintain and deploy software as needed.
All right. So basically, whatever makes sense for them.
Whatever makes sense, we can accommodate.
Okay. So what about these large projects? Because often they take months and sometimes years to move into full production. So, how can you sort of help if this is going to take a while? I don't want to do a massive amount of licenses right out of the gate, because we're not exactly sure what we need or what that deployment will look like as a project grows.
Absolutely. So with many large projects, with large application integration type projects, it can take a significant amount of time of development, testing, and such. And so we mentioned this a little bit earlier, that we do have the ability to ramp up the subscriptions over time to kind of align with your project schedules. And that way you're not paying full price right at the beginning when you're not really getting the full value out of FME.
Oh, so you'll sort of, as the project grows and the deployment grows, so too does your subscription.
Yeah, absolutely, Craig. And also we have done this for organizations where they're only deploying into a single department, but they know that they have plans to grow across the enterprise. So we've also looked at doing that ramping up as well over time.
Nice, love that.
Yeah, so how do subscriptions, enable you to take advantage of some of the things that are coming down the pipe for FME? So they totally do. For example, we have this thing called dynamic engine pricing, which is a new way of purchasing FME Server, where instead of buying engines, you would buy the amount of work, and it would just give you extra flexibility in starting and stopping engines. And for the unlimited, all the population-based approaches, that would just work, and you would be able to take advantage of that. Some of you may have noticed that now on the Azure and Google Cloud marketplaces, you can launch the entire FME stack right from within Azure Marketplace or the Google Cloud Marketplace. Everything's been configured, so both the authoring workflows on desktop and the automation on server are just there. They're bring your own license. So of course, since you have a subscription license, you could use your subscription licenses to activate those. So that, again, you're going to be covered. The whole IoT data stream technology, that's new, that's going to be coming for server. We're greatly improving the user experience on that and adding some underlying transformers and new connectors. And again, you'll be able to take advantage of that. Also coming is this whole idea of FME server-based authoring. So effectively, when you get FME Desktop, looking out to 2021, you'll get a server that'll manage those licenses and give you lots of the capabilities of server, whether or not you decide to run jobs on server. And of course, that's a really easy move then for organizations to then decide to offload some of the processing to server. And again, that will become part of the platform. And because subscriptions cover the whole platform, you'll get that. Other exciting things coming is this ability to have a server where you remotely place engines wherever they need to be close to the data. So you might have your server on-premise, and then you might have some engine for that server in Google Cloud, another one in AWS and Azure and things like that. And again, that is just part of the platform. So with subscriptions, you will just get that. So it makes it really takes away a lot of the worry or the concern with all these things. And of course, anything that is added to the platform is covered under the subscription. So yeah.
Okay, so we have some time for some Q&A. Steph, have you had a chance to look at any questions that you think would be good for us to answer here?
Yeah, it's awesome.
If we don't get to your question, you will reply at some point in the next day or so. We will make sure that everyone gets an answer. We just might not do it live.
Yeah, we have had quite a few questions pouring in though, which is really awesome to see. One of the questions that came in was from someone who says that they see a lot of pricing for organizations, but what about small companies or independent consultants?
I can tackle that one. So I mean, we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar that we aren't taking away our existing perpetual licensing. And so that's a really affordable way to really get started with the platform. If you are a small company that is looking at deploying, FME Server, and if you need, more than just a handful of licenses, then we can be creative, and we can look at something. Craig mentioned earlier that the enterprise subscription, we do start that at $50,000. But that doesn't mean that we can't look at a lower tier. That's just what we have published. So we could accommodate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I just,
for example, we've had folks who just want, the TU subscription to get a server, and so we've absolutely accommodated that in the past. So that those pricing tiers are really just there to help people, do the 35%. That's all they're there for. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm often amazed at the amount of creativity that Dave and his team can come up with. We haven't turned anyone away in the last year and a half on subscriptions. So if you're interested, come and talk to us. We'll make it work. I noticed in the questions, someone, I think Roberto typed in DOT. I'm assuming that's Department of Transportation. That is something that we're actively investigating. So we'll reach out to you to see how we can maybe create a DOT specific program.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, as of right now, many of the DOTs have actually taken advantage of the enterprise subscription.
Yeah.
So you definitely reach out to us, and we can show you what we've done for your peers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then somebody else asked about special pricing for 911 call centers. So that's another interesting. So all these things, we'll definitely engage you and learn more about it. And yeah, you can see just the excitement that folks have for these. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a lot of interest lately with 911. There's customers want to. They're often the use case there is to connect the dispatch system with the records management system, and then also using FME for addressing and collecting addressing from various local government entities.
And then this question came in too. What if it takes 5 years to fully deploy FME across my organization? Could we grow our subscription over 3 to 5 years?
What do you think, Craig?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
for sure. That's actually an easy one for us. So like I said, we have not turned away anyone on a subscription. There's always a way for us to make it work.
And we've done this for other organizations as well, where basically year 1 is one price, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, and each it's well defined so that because many of these large projects, the deployment does take place over a number of years. So absolutely.
Yeah, and the whole organization looks at long term, and certainly when it comes to our relationship with customers, we're not looking at this as you're going to be a customer using FME for a couple of years. We've got customers that have been using FME for 25 and more years, and we are looking at this as long term. So to be honest, 5 years for us is very short term, and so our goal here is to make it as easy as possible for you to deploy FME, and then it's a win-win for everyone.
And then I work for a regional environmental government agency. How would this work under the population-based local government subscription?
Dave, you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, we have included regional organizations under the local government program, and when it comes to some regional agencies, what we can tailor that specifically to your requirements. So we'd have a conversation. We'd find out a little bit more about your needs, and then find out things like number of employees. So in that respect, so we would tailor that specifically to a good fit for you.
We're a regional government. They have a police service and 3 cities, and they're interested in pooling together for a subscription. How would the licensing work? Do they have to have one central license manager, or could each organization be in control of their own licenses?
Oh, whatever they prefer.
Yeah.
Whatever makes sense for them. Yeah, we can work with that. That's not a problem there.
I think we have a couple more minutes left in the webinar, so if anyone has last questions, now's your time to get them in while we answer this one quickly. My company is global. How would this be handled under an enterprise subscription?
Not a problem. You can either break that up regionally if you prefer, or we can do a subscription that's one subscription that is global. That's not an issue. I don't see there being any problems there. Again, it really comes down to what is easiest for your organization. It might make it easy to separate it out. It might be easier to have it in one central location that manages it. So that's not a problem.
Awesome. And then if people want to take this information, go away and think about it, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you guys if they have questions that they just didn't have at the time here?
Yeah, I was going to say they could reach out. We have a couple ways. They could reach out to us through email. So info@safe or sales@safe, and that'll go to the the appropriate contacts here. And then also we do have a great live chat system that part of the business team is always looking in at, so you can reach out to us that way.
Regarding Q6, any example of initial costs? What was Q6?
So, and the question was, do we have examples of what? Oh, of initial costs? Well, I guess it really depends. I mean, the examples could be anything depending on what your project is, but I mean,
I've seen like year one be $7,500, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know you guys probably have other examples, but I've seen like $7,500, $10,000, $15,000, and as it takes place. So I'm gonna read. I think the concern might be that subscriptions totally do not have to start at $50,000. So that's and I think maybe we should take that back from our website, and maybe we don't start at $50,000. But that pricing threshold was just a tool to help people do the math from 35% to so maybe 50,000 was a bad starting number.
It was a bit high, but you're right. Yeah. We've seen organizations start at 10,000. We've also seen organizations start on the low end and at 75,000, and everything in between. It really depends on the project, the deployment, and we can work with you on that. That's not a problem.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a good point. It's not that it starts at 50,000 and we might give you a small discount. We look at every case different, and we start from that, and where the project is, how much FME are you planning on deploying, and we go from there. And I think you're right, Don. We'll probably adjust the website a bit to make that more clear.
Yeah. And really, in every case, we've been able to come up with a creative solution that really makes our customers happy. So I just welcome you to reach out to us.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that addressed one of the questions coming in too for someone talking about having a smaller budget and the best way for them to start. So yeah, I think that answered that, which is great. There's a few more questions coming in the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see them coming in and you want to scroll down. They are.
Yep, somebody says here, I purchased through a reseller. Does this, I'm paraphrasing slightly, does this also apply to me? And the answer is absolutely. Please do continue to work with your reseller. Everything we've talked about here is worldwide, and the resellers will work with us. And if you are a reseller, anything you see here, part of this is so that everybody understands how flexible we want to be, and And because we're seeing tremendous uptake at SAFE and in North America and the markets we support, and some of our partners of our resellers are going crazy because they get it. So that's part of it too. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I think questions are starting to slow down. I'm not sure if you see any that I missed. Lots of really good feedback though.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we will go through all of these and reach out as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And subscriptions are a great way to get server, also to grow if you see your deployment growing. And again, it's a really cost-effective way to deploy the whole FME platform. Gives you the flexibility to be able to switch it up really, easily, which is you can do, of course, with perpetual, but it's a bit more work on your end and our end for sure. So yeah. And just ask questions. So after you go away and you digest this, and then you have one of those questions, I wonder if, then please do reach out to us. Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably good for all the questions. Did you guys have anything to wrap it up that you wanted to touch on?
No, just don't hesitate to talk to us. One of the main goals here is to help people realize how creative and flexible that Dave and his team, and how our partners, and how SAFE is when it comes to helping you deploy FME. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll find a way to make things work for you.
Yeah, that sounds
we have
great.
one really. Can I do one more question?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Just had one that came in that says, I'm a small telco engineering GIS firm that is owned by a group of local telco co-ops. And they basically look after all the data for them, and they're wondering, are they able to, so they're not actually part of the utilities, but they're owned by a collection of co-ops, and they're wondering, do they qualify under the utilities program? And I think, okay, well, I'll answer.
No, I was just reading.
That's the hard part about not being in the same room, right? So anyway, yeah, whoever answered it safe was going to say absolutely yes. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, these webinars are definitely a little bit different, not being in the same room, how we're usually set up.
Yeah. And normally we're in the same room, so the handoffs are done. And I was waving at the screen, but Craig didn't see it, or Dave. So there you go.
Yeah, very rarely on Craig and Dave in the room and there's silence.
Yeah, that's true. That is rare. I'm not sure what's going on. So funny. But no, we really hope that everyone found this webinar helpful. It's actually the first time we've ever done a webinar of this style. So do let us know in the feedback if this was helpful for you, and we can certainly offer more of them, because sometimes our website doesn't cover everything just with how flexible we are and all the questions that we get every day. So a webinar is a really great opportunity for us to address some of those questions. And then, of course, having the Q&A feature is really helpful. We do have the live chat, but there is something nice about being on a webinar and getting the responses as you're learning. So let us know if you enjoyed this, if you'd like to see more webinars of this style, and it's something we can definitely consider.
Yeah. And please continue to engage, and we thank everyone for their time this morning. And yeah, we're super excited about FME and subscriptions, and we're always looking for new ways to help people afford it, and basically what fits in with their budget and cycle. So this is a nice way for people to get FME under sort of the OPEX operating expense budgets too, which is important for some organizations. And so lots of excitement. So please do engage us.
Well, thank you guys so much. I guess I'll leave this running for a few more minutes. If anyone has a last question they want to get in, maybe just another couple minutes here, we'll leave it up. But I will take back control here and then mute ourselves for a bit. But thank you all so much for tuning in. We really appreciate your time and all the questions that came in. There were some really great ones. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.